Welcome to this episode of Sales Needed, folks. Arm and Hammer, Kyle Bogart, Cliff Bogart, Daniel Callblocker, and whatever the hell this thing is.
Yes, let's address this. All right, for those of you listening, which is all of you,
yes.
Cliff has a giant jug on the table with a Rich Piana 5% nutrition logo on it. Is it 5% nutrition or 5% performance? What is it called?
I think it's 5% nutrition, which I'd never investigated the origins of 5%. I assume it's 5% body fat.
That's what I
Chase,
assumed
can you
as well.
figure out why it's called 5%?
And now Cliff is drinking blue goo out of his. So explain this. Okay. Justify this.
The reason I'm justifying it is, one, because it's funny. Two,
only when it's funny.
Exactly. Two, and I might actually stop once it stops being funny, but it's funny for now. Two, I am intermittent fasting all day.
Yeah.
And so as a way to make sure I don't get unjacked for the intermittent fasting window, I think it's a good idea to be consuming BCAAs on a regular basis.
It's become a mental health podcast. It's just like a bunch of guys sitting in a circle talking. It's like, you ever seen My Strange Addiction? That's what this is about. It's like Cliff from Austin, Texas has to consume BCAAs continuously over the course of the day and eats toilet paper.
Hey, man, if that'll help.
So you're intermittent fasting now.
I've been intermittent fasting for the last 3 weeks or so.
In addition to the keto life as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
First step, keto. Second step, intermittent fasting.
Third step, profit.
Hey, maybe.
Is it working?
I'm losing weight.
Yeah.
And
I
bones.
Losing bones all the time.
Exactly. I have no idea if intermittent fasting is better diet-wise. I'm still losing weight at roughly the same rate. But it is more convenient, because then I don't have to eat all the time. But because I found it was just too convenient, I had to add an inconvenience to it, which is this.
Yes. Which is drinking Ecto Cooler all day long. And so when someone of Cliff's size does not eat all day, explain what you eat in the evening over what duration of time.
I eat pretty damn close to one meal, which usually consists of minimally a pound of some kind of grass-fed meat.
The whole pound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't eat all day, it's amazing you have zero trouble eating a pound of meat.
Yeah.
Then occasionally some eggs. Either with the meat or separately.
You gotta get the eggs in there for protein.
You do.
Right. You're not getting enough protein with that grass-fed meat.
And then a delicious, by the way, this is the best discovery ever for all low-carb dieting that's ever been made in the history of mankind, and I stumbled upon it, and now my life is different. The Quest Protein salted caramel flavor.
It is really good.
Holy shit. I'm not joking here, and maybe it's just because I haven't had sugar in a while, but it legitimately tastes like, when it's blended up with the correct amount of water and all that shit, it legitimately tastes like one of the best shakes, chocolate shakes. Like if I went to a restaurant to get a $5 shake, this tastes that fucking good.
And you don't put bourbon in it or nothing.
No, exactly.
How do sugar alcohol, how does that work with
Sugar alcohols are
keto?
Actually, the sugar alcohols in Quest bars are relatively low.
Yeah, they don't have much sugar alcohols. That's not what they're leaning on.
A lot of cheap, shitty, like low carb bars, like are just packed full of sugar alcohols, and like they say low sugar, and then they have that. But I actually looked at Quest; it's much lower. It's like trace relative to other bars. I believe.
So is it mostly fiber? Is that what the whole?
I think it's the fibers content.
thing
I don't
is?
know where with the protein powder, but like it's a different. Like it lacks any of those things that make bars crispy with the Quest. I mean, you had Quest bars before. They're basically like mush.
Yes.
So, I don't know what they're doing with that protein powder, but my God, it's delicious. It's so delicious it can't possibly be good for you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna continue to drink it because it's like on Futurama. You know how Fry was eating bachelor chow? It's like, now that I have a jar of Quest protein that tastes like a delicious chocolate shake, I'm kind of like, so long as I can momentarily justify this, I feel like I just want to consume it all day long as just my primary food source because it's very delicious. Yeah, and healthful.
So wait, so you just have you have a pound of meat eggs, and then the protein shake.
Yeah.
What else do
Like-
you need?
No, nothing like green.
Oh yeah, I
crunchy.
toss some random veg into the beef on occasion.
Oh, okay.
Some veg,
Like an onion,
Yeah.
like half an onion.
Don't do much of the onions. I am enjoying asparagus now.
Yes.
Because 1, it tastes delicious, and 2, I just love the smell of my piss
I was
after.
about to say, you get to pee in Daniel's bathroom and be like, "Fuck you, Daniel."
On the
He does.
walls, it's not going away.
It's really it's bad in there.
Yeah.
So home life is real sad these days. Is what you're trying to say.
But how much?
I don't
where are we?
spend much time at home anymore.
Where are we weight wise overall?
Weight wise, I am 284.4 as of one of the weekend days. I usually am lighter on the weekend days because I get to sleep.
But
in.
how far are we down? Where did you start it?
Started at 311.
Okay.
So this is.
God, I wish I remembered the
math.
311 song that I could start singing right now.
I know.
What was
Oh,
that?
man.
What was that song? You're too young.
The
Armin.
only
Armin
311
is-
song I know is don't they have a cover of The Cure's love song?
They
that's
do.
Pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Don't they say their own name on a couple songs on occasion?
Like a rap group.
Yes.
They do. I remember hearing 311 saying 311 in the
LA,
song lyric.
In LA, there's a radio station called K-Rock, and on March 11th, it's 311 Day,
Ooh.
Well,
which is a day I do not listen to the radio.
I feel like this is like
Down. I don't remember how this song sounds, and we can't hear it right now, so
Nope.
who gives
It
a
doesn't
shit?
matter.
All right, so
but,
wait, you're down a whole bunch of fucking weights, like almost 30 pounds. And
I can now make heavyweight if I wanted to as a mixed martial arts fighter,
Yes, which he is not.
which is my dream.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
Just enter an MMA contest.
Yep.
Just to see how it
I don't
goes.
need any training.
I think the loss of weight is all the training you need. I mean, cutting is like 85%
Hey,
of the
I am
process.
confident. I am confident in my ability to be a martial arts champion in the newly crowned mixed gender division.
There's a mixed
Mixed-
gender division?
Is that a thing?
It'll be a new thing for me.
Oh.
That's the only way I'm going to win.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Oh. You'd have to fight against women.
Yes.
Exactly.
Equally
No,
untrained, overweight women.
intergender
Yes.
MMA champion.
There
yes.
you go.
Mhm.
Like Andy Kaufman.
like Andy Kaufman.
Inland,
Yes.
like Andy Kaufman.
Because Ronda Rousey would beat the shit out of you.
Yes.
Maybe, but I would try to smother her with my hairy belly as much
fall,
as possible.
fall on top of her. And hope
See,
that she
Cliff's
doesn't
Cliff's
get out.
fighting style is like that of Snorlax.
Ah,
he just
yes.
rolls on top of people.
What's a
Fantastic.
Snorlax?
It's a
a
Pokemon.
Oh, I'm too old.
I would have the patented belly smother, yes,
Yes.
as my move, as my finishing move.
It's not a good move. I don't think that's going to work.
I do have to say, though, I did encounter a photograph the other day, either on Facebook or something, but it was a photograph from, I think the low point for both Cliff and I, which was Daniel's brother's wedding. And I remember, I'd seen a picture of myself at that time, which was maximum fat. But then I saw a picture of Cliff.
Maximum fat.
Maximum fat. But I
didn't
saw a
see
picture
that
of Cliff,
picture.
and I saw a picture of you, and I was like, Jesus, Cliff was just miles fatter
I
at that
actually
time.
need to see that. I haven't seen a picture
Yeah.
from that wedding in a while, but
Yeah.
I have my accurate weight record on my Beyond the Whiteboard thing. It's a graph that tells my life story over the last couple of years. And I was
The
definitely
only
at a
way
high
that
point there.
matters, your weight.
Exactly, yeah. hmm
Wait, so how much weight have you lost?
Let's see. It depends on where we're starting from, but near the end of last year, before I quit drinking, I was getting up into the 260s, and so now I'm in the low 230s right now. So
You guys have both lost almost 30 pounds.
yeah. But
Well, I
then-
lost more since the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, I was 342.
Yeah.
So I've gone from 342 to 284.
Yeah, that's like
What?
60 pounds.
Yeah,
Like if you want to see a picture of Cliff,
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
actual weight loss.
I didn't know that. I thought you were
I'm
saying
looking,
311 was the...
No, 311 was when I started keto. That's after I'd still lost a bunch of weight by not drinking and eating nothing.
Yeah.
That I had been doing.
yeah.
Now
So-
this is just my version of eating nothing where I feel less hungry.
Wait, so you
Right.
guys are now basically...
Collectively 100 pounds lighter.
Yeah, but also I was going to say professionals in the nutrition and coaching industry.
That's
so
right.
what...
But that's the sad part is we probably know more than half of the people who actually are
just can't
advising
do it.
people. Just
Well,
can't
yeah,
actually
the problem with people who, coach people on diet who on their diets who have themselves abs is that most of those people are.
do it. That's the picture.
Oh my God! I need to see that shit.
I must. Yeah, I need to see this. As well.
Yeah,
It is a
the
very
wide
fat
angle
clip.
lens
It's a very,
doesn't
very
help.
fat clip.
See that?
Yeah.
For all those listening at home, it's a picture of Cliff, but fatter.
Yeah, just picture a fat guy and you've got it. You've nailed it.
That's not even. I had better pictures of me at that wedding, no doubt, but that is a particularly bad one.
It looks like Kyle was taking a panorama, and you kept walking.
All of my
with
text
it.
messages.
We knew each other then. That wasn't that long ago.
That's true. Yeah. This podcast was almost started at that point.
So
yeah.
Now that you guys are diet, nutrition, weight loss, and coaching professionals,
Absolutely.
what is the biggest piece of advice you're going to give somebody?
Well, I think it's not about dieting. It's about creating a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. No, I got nothing.
Nothing. Supplements.
Here's the biggest thing is that if all of your dieting is somehow operating in the negative space that exists between your desire to be fit and drinking all the time, then you're just trying to ice skate uphill, to quote Blade. And so what I would say is
the Shakespearean Blade.
I would say consider strongly the idea of not drinking, because it immediately just takes the handbrake off of all of your efforts to be fit and thin. Just and whatever element you think that the drinking is contributing, it's probably contributing a much larger element than you think to why you are the way you are. So that's my advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clifford?
Yeah, I would say the not drinking was definitely the prerequisite for all further developments, because even though keto has kicked things up another notch, oh Jesus, don't put that on here. Take it down. I'm dead serious. Take it the fuck down. It's gone. Okay, there's not being shared. Yeah, I am.
Blame Kyle.
It's okay. No one watches this anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's listening. They're just picturing what they imagine.
No one's listening either.
No one even knows what you guys look like. It's fine.
True. Yeah. Everyone assumes I'm Kyle Sockwell.
No, not drinking was the prerequisite for all further developments, because all previous iterations of me, in fact, all of my weight loss history and workout history has been done while drinking, because I actually, graduated college as a fat guy who was unfit, started drinking, then also started running and losing weight. So all of my previous fitness attempts have been in the context of being, in various stages of functional, borderline unfunctional alcoholic. So wavering between those two things.
By the way, I was talking to relating to a project that we're working on. I was talking to a wrestler, and he was talking about how certain wrestlers have unhealthy relationships with food. And it was so funny that some of the extreme examples he was bringing up from the rest world of like guys post weight cutting and everything that he was bringing up to shock me, I realized were supposed to shock me, but didn't, because I have lived with Cliff for like 5 years. He's like, sometimes this guy, he'd go through a drive-through at KFC, come away with a whole bucket of chicken, and that was just for him. And I was like, you mean like not do that every weekend? Because there was a time when Cliff would do that multiple times a week. But it was okay because it was within the fitness plan.
That's right. Like after it was part of your refeed or whatever.
It's a cheat day.
It's the anabolic window. It's the anabolic window.
It's carbon up.
And I remember, actually, this was Ray Machuca was telling us about someone he knew. He was sharing, like, he would sit down, just sit down in the evenings, right next to him would be a whole 12-pack of beer, and he'd just drink through the whole thing. And I'm like, just 12, huh? As I remember, there was a time when, for a year, this is back in the Possum apartment. With Buddy Boy and the Brody Glass
apartment, yeah.
where you would buy, where was it? We would drink 12 beers, and then you would have your backup sixer. For when inevitably the 12 that was for you were exhausted, you would need some
tall boy
reserves.
sixer.
Yeah, tall boy sixer in reserve. So, and weirdly, it was hard to keep the weight off during that bucket of chicken, 18 beers a night phase, and then in subtler forms thereafter. But yeah. So.
Is it worth being healthy now?
It's less fun, objectively.
Yeah. Life looks and tastes like chalk now, but it's weird. I don't know. It's something. I'll tell you what. Having a more productive. There's no way to have fun. Fun we said goodbye to a long time ago. But
So-
you just kind of got to accept that.
There's no fun, and then suddenly you find yourself actually working on a regular basis.
Yes.
Yeah. No, here is the thing. Everything said about fun is accurate. I can't have fun anymore on any level. That capacity is burnt out of me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can actually humorlessly do work now from an early hour until a late hour every day. And so now I've turned effectively into a worker bee at my own command. I'm my own queen of the worker bee that is me. This is a working
We're trying to.
This is the worst Dr. Seuss book I've ever heard. I'm my own queen of the worker bee that is me. That's a cut scene from Fight Club.
So that's why Cliff and I are now starting our own lifestyle brand, a la On It or Bulletproof. So
Or
we're
Caffeine
going to
and Kilos.
Caffeine and Kilos, yeah.
This
Just a
one's
lifestyle
just
brand.
kilos.
Exactly. It's just more. I don't know. There's a substantial amount of
Kilos
caffeine
and kilos.
this is yep. And so subscribe now.
You know, just to give an indicator, by the way, of how unfun life is now.
Yeah.
Remember that Super Bowl party at your house?
I do.
That was early on. That was like a month.
I think number one, fuck you guys. I had a great time.
That was no, it was, but it was like the Super Bowl happens in what, February? So
Yes.
we were like 6 weeks into not drinking, and it was a Super Bowl time at Armin's place, and yeah, that was the where I really was not mentally equipped to like enter any kind of party or like watching a football game type of environment without alcohol. So I just sat there and just shoved Oreos and chips into my mouth.
Yeah.
You
An
know.
entire tub of French onion dip and a
Entire
bag
tub.
of chips.
Yes. Those were back in the days where you got your French onion dip, but then you have to have your French onion dip in reserve. Your
Yeah.
6-serve French onion dip in reserve for when you initially exhaust that other French onion dip. Yeah.
It doesn't have quite the same refreshing sound as you open the can
No,
of fresh
it
French
goes like
onion
this.
dip.
Once now and once later.
Well,
All right.
I'm
Fitness,
never
you guys.
inviting you guys to my home ever again. Fuck you guys. I want my wedding invitations returned, please. You guys are no longer invited.
Yeah, no, I think, but things are better now. I have had fun at least once or twice this year
Wow.
without alcohol. So.
That's insane.
And I'm hoping to get that up to 3 in 2018. So.
Wow.
Uh,
It's just a graph going upward here.
yeah,
it's all. It's all.
it's about progression.
right.
It's just a very slow linear progression.
Never mind the earlier crash of the graph.
Oh yeah, that's
Like
you know, we don't need to look
excise that
back.
part.
Looking back only gives you useless data.
Yes.
Because you can't predict the future from the past.
You can't.
That is anything.
Fitness, you guys.
So, the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games, those are next week.
Yes.
They are next week.
And I'm going to be
Surprisingly.
there. I'm going to be in Madison.
Still waiting on my invitation, but CrossFit HQ has yet to send it.
Yeah, I mean, the top everyone that competed haven't yet been disqualified.
It's true.
So they're not
Oh,
quite going into.
we haven't even talked about
Yeah,
the
there's a disqualification.
Mr. Ryan Elrod.
Yes, there were 3 individuals who tested positive. 2 of them were on teams.
Yeah.
So those teams are disqualified, and one of them is an individual competitor, Ryan Elrod.
Yeah. So what was the story there? I read the article, but I can't remember.
So Elrod tested positive for something called clomiphene.
I am familiar.
I was not. Apparently, clomiphene is an anti-estrogen, which is used for fertility purposes.
It's what John Jones got popped with, because apparently Clomid was trace amounts in his dick pills.
His dick pills.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you're an elite athlete with a very good cardiovascular health,
Yeah.
and you just need to take a dick pill.
Yeah. Sometimes your dick don't work.
Immediately prior to competition.
John Jones just doesn't have enough blood in his body.
Yes.
So it's also
Like a half inflated bouncy house.
It's
just sort of.
it's not just used as a fertility drug. It is also used, correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff, to help hormonal imbalances when people are coming off of steroid cycles.
Sure, it helps naturally raise your testosterone levels by shutting down the signaling of estrogen in your brain, which somehow makes your balls produce more T.
Yeah, it's about the balls, really. Don't forget the balls.
It's all about the balls. And so he is now disqualified for it.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with him as an athlete. Where is he?
Yeah,
Was he an individual
here's the fun
qualifier
thing.
of what region?
Yeah, he was
Atlantic.
Atlantic, yeah. But no, he's an interesting story. One, he's a grid athlete. Two, he was a Cirque du Soleil gymnast performer. Is currently a Cirque du Soleil. Three, he's one of the few.
85 years old.
Exactly. He was a masters, over 35, I believe. One of the few masters over 35 who.
He's a World War I veteran.
Who. And this was a really
Dunkirk is about him.
And this was an
middle name.
inspirational story, it seemed, because as one of the few masters athletes, and he tried at regionals individually a few times before, finally barely gets in there with a 5th place finish to make it to the games as an individual, as a masters for his first time ever. And it was all super inspirational and shit. Nope.
Oh, so he was a master's individual.
No. He isn't an
individual.
He just happens
who was
to be
in a
master's
age. He was over 35,
gotcha.
so he's in the master's age group.
He's so old.
Gotcha.
He's in this photo.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a photo from Wonder Woman.
Well, the Wonder
for
Woman
all of
photo.
you
The
not watching,
timeless,
which is all of you.
So in case any of you masters athletes who have aspirations of getting into be an individual at CrossFit Games, in case you have any of those notions,
You need to get on dick pills.
You need to get on dick pills,
Male or female, get on dick pills.
or in case Elrod got your hopes up about your prospects. Nope.
Well, actually, hold on now, because there's plenty of masters athletes who made it to the games this year individually. Sam Briggs,
Oh yeah.
Val Voberl,
Yeah,
That's true.
well,
Kirsten in what did the California regional, like, weren't 2 of the women masters age?
2 of the women were masters age.
China
and
Cho
all
was
4
also
of them are or all 5 of them are over the age of 30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Josh Bridges is 34.
No, Lauren Fisher was the only one who was under
that's right.
30. So it's like 4 people over 30, and like Valvor was like 38, China Cho was like 35, and like so the only one in her 20s was Lauren Fisher, right?
Kirsten Pedri is 35. I think China Cho is like 32 or 33.
Oh, maybe I'm sorry, I got that
But
mixed
yeah,
up.
either way, there's a couple of masters athletes there. So it only happens when there are no. It only happens when there are no heavy barbells. That's the case.
bad on the knees.
Yeah, and then the other 2, one of them was a team from the Pacific Northwest, CrossFit Marysville. He was a member of that named Nick something or another. And
Marysville's
he
done
got
well.
caught for ostrin, which is
a derivative of ostrich eggs.
Yes.
He got it right.
Ostrin is a SARM.
Yes.
I have no idea what a SARM is.
It is
but
a
it's a SARM.
strategic armament ready for
Masturbatory.
Mechanization.
So Ostrin is a SARM, which apparently SARMs are on the banned list.
Yes.
So don't take any SARMs, guys.
no SARMs, you guys.
And then OJ Washington, great name, by the way. OJ Washington of Bear Republic CrossFit, another California guy.
OJ Simpson really ruined that 2-letter.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, forever.
He did. And now that he's out,
Yes.
we can't say anything about it.
Nope.
True.
Nope.
Because
Oh shit! Is he? No, he's not free yet.
He's paroled.
OJ got paroled. Yeah.
Well, I know he got parole, but I didn't know he's not out yet.
He's
got
coming for you,
Several
though.
The
months.
juice. The juice will soon be on the loose.
OJ Washington got popped for, here we go, one shot, methylhexaniamine. I think I almost got that right.
Yeah.
Which is a stimulant he says he got in an over-the-counter pre-workout supplement, which is entirely possible. I mean, these like pre-workout, this like wild, wild west of supplements.
We probably have methylhexaniamine in us after that.
We have
Full Metal
so
Jacked.
much. That Full Metal Jacked is 80% banned substances.
Yes, 100%.
Mostly lead.
100%, 80%.
It's 100%, 80% banned substances. So, here's the deal. Every year, it fucking happens.
Yep.
CrossFit picks like 3 people or 2 people that are kind of at the bottom of the pack, and they make sacrificial lambs out of them.
Is that what you think's going on?
I
think
think
get conspiratorial on this thing.
He has a whole
Bold
like
statement.
yarn board.
That's
set
right.
up.
I have an entire. it's
It's a whole beautiful mind thing going on right
Yeah,
here.
it's actually probably more like.
Winona Ryder in Stranger Things.
I was gonna say Robert Downey Jr. in Zodiac, just like on a boat drinking and thinking I know things.
I've been there.
Yeah. So, listen, I think obviously CrossFit is testing some people, and their testing methodology says that they put everyone who qualifies for the games gets tested. But my understanding is that it's just a urine test at regionals, and you know, I don't know how hard or easy it is to pass those things, but my guess is when you know it's coming up and it's just a urine test, it's probably pretty easy to pass.
You know, I don't know. It's tough because a big part of what is unique about CrossFit is the fact that, like, a lot of these people clearly have a tremendous genetic capacity, and so many of the athletes who are at the top probably don't actually have to aren't as desperate to qualify as those people who are kind of on the bubble to qualify to a regional spot. So it makes more sense to me, some of the people who are on the bubble actually turning to those sorts of things than people who seem to have almost innately from the beginning of CrossFit just been heads and tails above other people in their work capacity. So it's like the fact that because there's clearly a lot of super jacked dudes in CrossFit, but I don't know. It's one of those weird things where they all seem to have almost like from the get-go been so far ahead of everyone else in their natural capacity, their natural work output, that I don't know, it's easier to believe that they're that jacked and have all of those other things based on natural things. Because CrossFit is almost a sport that seems to, just select for the genetically gifted in terms of output and strength and all of those other things, because there's almost less of, not to say there isn't a skill component, there's a pretty substantial skill component, but it's like it's just a sport of, you seem to have something weird with your biochemistry that allows you to move a bunch. Guess what? You're good at this now, so go learn how to pick up a barbell, and that's kind of the entry point to CrossFit. So I don't know. I don't know, man.
I'm on the same page as Kyle. It's like taking steroids doesn't, at the end of the day, I mean, some of them do help you in recovery, but it's not going to make your ability to suffer and mental toughness any better than it was from birth, you know. So the people that we see at the top, it'd make more sense if they're clean than the people that are at the bottom that are desperate to get into that position.
I mean, don't get me wrong here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say an apologist, but I am definitely not someone who's going to like vilify people for
using
steroid use, because Ilya fucking Ilin is a goddamn superhero, and all I want to do is see him lift weights. Right? That's it. That's all I want. I just want to continue watching him lift weights, and I don't give a shit that he was on all those steroids. And it's like, competitively it sucks, right? Because he gets an advantage, but as a fan of the sport, I just really want to see him lift a lot of weight.
If you have the choice of watching the drug-free Olympics or the all-drug Olympics, which one would you want to see?
It's a good point.
Yep.
It's a good
Pretty
point.
straightforward.
The all-drug Olympics is called the Olympics.
Right.
RX.
And so and so, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be this effort made to sort of like clear out the level out the playing field. I'm just saying that
I think those are two separate conversations, though, because I agree with you. Like, I don't believe in the demonization of steroids or any of those things. I think people should be. It's kind of silly to not, especially when it comes to the big ball sports and everything, where there's that much money on the line. It's like it's impossible to expect people not to take those sorts of things when it's their entire livelihood is dependent upon it, and half of the people are, and it's basically a question of, do you want to give up what you've worked your entire life to do, or do you want to roll the dice and do what everyone else is doing? It's, of course everyone's on steroids, but then the other question is, do I actually think that there is a rampant steroid problem but there's rampant steroid or performance enhancing drug use within CrossFit? I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it seems like the sports where those things are a significant part, there seems to be a stink around them, or at least an aura around them of like, we know that everyone in strongman is on tons of steroids because it helps them directly. We know that everyone in everyone in like powerlifting is on steroids, and they're very open about that. We know it exists in the NFL. And yet, there's not like many instances right now. Kind of realize CrossFit's a much smaller sport, but there aren't like accusations being thrown around, and there aren't people. I don't know. Maybe that's just being profoundly naive, but there doesn't seem to be those little sparks and indicators everywhere that shit's going down in that way. Or are there, Armin? What do you know, Armin? Name names. Do you know Jose Canseco?
I would say that I don't think that CrossFit is inherently cleaner than other sports. I think that CrossFit is as an economic on an economic level poorer than other sports in that there isn't the incentive to cheat or the means to get PEDs, right? Because it's not necessarily a huge expense, but I also know what type of living you make by owning a gym or coaching full time, and it's not a lot.
Mad scratch.
It's not a lot, yeah. So I think that people sort of like conflate this idea of these athletes are good people. They're good people, but they're also fucking athletes, and they're super competitive, and there's something on the line for them, whether it's the money or the fame or the ego or whatever it is. And you can't say that just because they are good people and CrossFit is much more suffering based and like all this other stuff that weeds out, like poor personal characteristics. You can't say that CrossFit is a cleaner sport.
Well, here's the other complication. We're also conflating the idea of performance enhancing drugs with just using steroids, and
right.
So and what else is out there that could actually give someone a greater advantage? And are there things that could advantage you more in CrossFit competition or your ability to perform more that are illegal or banned? I don't know. I don't know anything about, right? Because it's not a world I know very much. But maybe someone else wants to. Because that Blonix beta-alanine has given me the competitive edge. By the way, I want to say something, and I apologize. I was sent some Blonix. There we go. I've sent some Blonix gear, and I will wear it on here. But I started using that fucking beta-alanine stuff, and it kind of got me in troubles to the point where I'm not going to the gym today. Here's the reason. I usually use, because it's supposed to suppress like the burn of lactic, whatever, which is kind of, and I've been like, I think it's kind of helping me. I think I was getting some positive indications that it was helping me, and still, I still stand by that. But what happened was I did a workout that had like more than 100 wall ball shots in it the other day, and it was weird because at no point did I feel any lactic burn in my quads or glutes or anything. Like, no point did the lactic burn kick in and say, slow down. Now, my lungs, I still, I had to stop periodically and just breathe hard, but, like, the lactic burn never showed up at any point. And so, like, I had done some heavy squats, I did this workout, and it was a bunch of things, and it had, like, 100 20-pound wall ball shots in it. And I was leaving the gym, and it's weird, like, you don't think about it, but if the lactic burn doesn't show up, you're not thinking, like, man, I really smoked my legs. But as I was, like, walking out of the gym, I was, like, shaking. I was like, why do my legs feel so tight? The next day and today as well, like this was 2 days ago, I am crippled from the waist down. Like, I smoked the shit out of my legs. And normally this level of soreness would only come from doing something like Tabata squats or something like where, you feel that intense lactic burn, but you just like fight through it, and at the end you're like, like that never arrived in that workout, and I can't get out of this chair. I'm sleeping I'm sleeping at this table tonight.
I am actively trying to stand up right now.
So take that for what it's worth, but I have noticed a kind of ludicrous amount of like muscular work capacity, like in terms of like the lack of the lactic burn. Suddenly, like I've been taking it like consistently for a month or so now, that really kind of came to a head this week. Which was awesome in a way, because like that's great. But now at the same time, I'm like, I pushed myself way harder through those wall ball shots than I probably should have as a result, because there wasn't that little canary in the coal mine of just like, my legs feel like they're on fire, so I should stop, otherwise I won't be able to walk for 3 days. That just never showed up.
Professional athlete, this is now the life you live.
That's
Kyle.
right.
This is it.
I know. It's about. I mean, it's a game of inches, Harmon,
and we only have so few.
Yes.
To give. Or receive.
6, maybe, 6.5 inches, which I've been assured is more than enough. So, dicks.
In case you guys were curious what we were talking about there, peni.
The pianist.
The pianist.
Asses.
So this is officially the worst 25 seconds of the podcast ever.
No, that is untrue. We have definitely gotten way further into the bushes, the weeds.
Yeah. So to address your original question before you mentioned your Blonix beta-alanine, it is what steroids or what PEDs are there that aren't just like the bulk up and get crazy steroids, right? And I think the
fun ones.
The fun ones? Other than the fun ones. is what
Other
I'm
than the
saying.
fun
Oh,
ones,
okay, okay.
the boring ones.
Right.
Funyuns.
Well, there's what Natalie Newhart was on,
Yeah.
Anavar,
Yeah.
which is, you put on a lot of muscle, you stay super lean, you get really strong, and it doesn't take away any of your like work capacity.
Where can I get this?
Yeah.
I
That sounds great. Actually.
yeah.
And it's an oral too, so you don't have to inject yourself.
Right,
Interesting.
but that does make it, I understand, particularly harsh on the kidneys,
Liver.
liver, whatever. One of those things
Well,
that
I mean,
you have.
yeah, sure, steroids, oral steroids are harsh on the liver, but less so than drinking 24 beers.
Probably.
True.
So
Let's say,
that's
guys,
the,
both of
really-
you,
need
you've
to
been
put it in
training your
context.
entire
You
lives.
need to put it in context.
So it's a wash, really.
Yeah.
Considering I quit drinking.
And then things like EPO to help with blood oxygenation.
Yeah.
Or just like any sort of testosterone or HGH to help with recovery, I guess. But again, I don't know shit about steroids. Like all of this is just from hearing about what people in weightlifting are being caught with, what
Yeah.
people in like sprinting are being caught with,
Yeah.
what we learned from watching Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Like all of this is very, very rudimentary knowledge and understanding that there is this world, right?
So if we're gonna pick some top 10 individual CrossFit Games athlete who we're pretty sure is on steroids,
Yeah.
who are our top 3? So it's
let's just not. We're gonna go not to do that.
let's see
But we all know
who has blocked us on Twitter.
Let's-
Because they're the ones who I think are really on the juice.
I don't think
Handsome
the
Chase, who
people.
are our prime suspects.
I don't think the people who have blocked us on Twitter are necessarily those types of athletes. Anyway,
Let's not go there.
not that anybody has ever blocked us on Twitter.
So
No one's.
out of the 8 people that we have watching currently,
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for
Jay
that,
Borden.
Chase. really appreciate you fucking nailing that point home.
Let's
boom.
Please.
I'm glad that's committed to the recording forever.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh.
Give it to us.
It's like the song. Anyways, Jay Borden says all this steroid talk is like watching the Food Network. Now I just want me some steroids.
Goddamn
So,
right.
If anybody knows how we can hook them up,
Yes, some steroids and bouffe bourguignon.
Daniel
Yeah, Daniel.
saying he's the Connect.
He's
Oh, I'm the Connect?
yeah.
uh-huh.
Can't you tell? Look at him.
That's
He's
true.
got steroids written all over him.
I got steroids.
No, seriously, I don't know what that word means. It might mean steroids. So, all right, I'm fucking over the steroid talk.
Yeah.
The CrossFit Games are
So what we're
next
saying
week.
is, audience, Scalers Nation, send
Mail
us
us steroids.
Send courtesy of Arm & Hammer, Anavar, in the mail.
Don't do that.
Our address is
Please don't do that.
That's definitely code for do that. Like, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
don't do
that's-
that immediately.
Armin
Don't
is
do
speaking
that.
in code.
Don't
Do
do
not
it.
be
No.
discouraged.
anyone
not
were watching the video
winking.
version, they would be able to see us
Nothing-
winking.
No,
but
I'm not. No one's winking. Just
oh, I see him
don't.
winking.
Just
For those
don't.
listening at home, he is winking right now.
His
He is
eyes
definitely
it
winking.
just is a
what if I
twitch.
wink and I say do it? Then is it not do it? I don't
Did
understand.
you hear that?
I'm
He
trying
said
to
do it,
figure
ladies.
out
Do it,
what-
everyone.
What
He said, "Mail us steroids."
Mail us steroids.
Guys, just don't do that seriously unless it's with Bitcoin and then it's untraceable. And
That's
then you
right.
can totally send them steroids.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
How do you
Definitely.
Bitcoin someone's steroids?
Yes. Silk Road.
How do you Bitcoin?
So what I'm saying, Scaleless Nation, is there's no reason to use the completely untraceable currency that is Bitcoin to go on Silk Road, order Anavar, and then send it to the Flow Sports address, courtesy of Arm & Hammer. There's no reason to do that.
Really, use the cryptocurrency of your choosing.
Yes.
Get on the dark web. Any part of the dark web, and just
Ooh, it'd be really cool if they got it in gold.
Yes. There
Purchased it in gold.
we go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
It comes in colors? I don't understand.
No, he's saying as
an
a
actual gold.
cryptocurrency
Yeah.
gold is
Oh.
is usable. And a 3D printed gun. Why not? Send that too.
Send that in the mail.
Don't do
Care
those
of
things.
Arm & Hammer.
Do not do those things. I strongly do not.
Steroids and a 3D printed gun, ladies and gentlemen.
Strongly don't.
There's
want
no
those.
reason.
There's no reason not to.
There's
I
no
would-
reason to do that. Why are you? He keeps winking.
Prefer you not to do that. I would strongly prefer you not to do that. Do we want to talk
And
about
just a
the
bag
games
of
events?
pure uncut horse.
dehydrated powdered horse?
No, horse means heroin.
Oh, okay. I was imagining you
I thought it was
powdered
about
horse.
I don't know what
Powdered
it's about
horse.
either.
Why not?
Yes, why not powdered horse?
The hooves maybe have stuff in them that makes
So
like
horse and horse,
Yes.
both. Just send both.
Don't send things. Please don't. Do you guys want to talk about CrossFit Games events, or do we just not care?
Fuck it, let's talk about.
All
I
right,
don't know
so-
what they are. So
We know 4 of them, kind of.
The individual games events we're talking about. Team events don't count.
Team events don't count.
Yeah.
We know 4 of them. 4 of the events. Event
more
1.
than I know.
Event 1 is run, swim, run. It's a 1.5 mile run,
Ooh.
a 500-meter swim, and a 1.5 mile run.
okay, is it a lake swim?
Yep,
Okay, that's it.
that's it.
Okay, is there? Do they do that? Rest 3 minutes and then do something else?
No,
Oh, okay, so that's just it.
that's just it. They have a
Oh.
60-minute time cap, and they have to run a 1.5 miles, swim 500 meters, run a 1.5 miles. No one's going to hit that.
I
time
don't
cap.
know what 500 meters is in terms of swimming because when you said an hour and a
It's
time
not
cap-
It's not going to take an
It's not
hour.
gonna
The
take an
fastest
hour.
times are going to be like 25, 26 minutes.
Okay, cool. How long does it take to swim that amount of distance?
6 to 8 minutes. Yeah,
Interesting. So that would seem like that could be done relatively quickly.
it's going to be fast.
It was my first look at this shit. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this looks interesting. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tasty.
So, it's an interesting event. It's a shorter event, but it's going to be followed up with the bike event, which on the schedule there's no details of what the bike event is, but based on the schedule, they release the CrossFit Games app, so you can kind of like get into the app and play around with it, and they give you a generally useful schedule. But based on the schedule, it looks like the bike event is going to do the same thing the run, swim, run is, which is the individuals are all going to start at the same time. But it's scheduled for 3.5 hours. So if you just extrapolate, fastest time on the run, swim, run is going to be about half an hour, and they scheduled an hour for it. If they scheduled like 3.5 hours on this bike event, then they might expect people to be on the bike for like 90 minutes or an hour 45, which would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I would love to see some
wasn't sure.
motherfuckers just destroy themselves on the trails
On a bike.
on a bike. Because they're going to follow that up the
Yeah.
next day.
Oh
But-
God, they're
but
gonna use
guys-
CrossFit bikes.
But
aren't
I was
they?
gonna say, not just any bike, guys.
Oh no.
I don't
way.
know if they're going to use
Are they,
CrossFit
that's
bike.
too expensive even for the games.
How could you expect? How could one expect to really test fitness without aesthetically pleasing welds?
I don't think they're going to use the CrossFit bike. I think they're going to use
Huffies.
I think they're going to be using Specialized.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
the Specialized is right there in Madison.
oh, what's specialized?
It's like a bike. It's a bike company.
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
And I think they announced
We're all like specialized bikes, yes.
and they announced that they have like a deal with CrossFit, which is really weird because they already have a deal with another bike manufacturer.
Yeah.
Are Specialized welds aesthetically pleasing as
Probably
well?
not as such.
Not even close.
So the bikes have to be 1 speed, and they have to be extra super duper heavy because
Yes.
those guys are gonna have to carry them over shit too.
I don't know why they do that. Why wouldn't they just give them a road race, like not a road race, but like a trail to ride?
Because there's no GPP in roads. You have to have hills and sand and places for people to eat shit and go over their handlebars.
Very true. Very true.
Hopefully, no one pulls a Matt Chan.
That's right.
The next day.
Do you know what I remember about the bike event from however many years ago was that I remember they were interviewing people after it, and that was when they swam and then they had to go and get on the bikes and do the bike thing. And I remember they had an interview with Kristen Clever afterwards, and she was like, and her first comment was like, "Yeah, when we got out of the water, just Lucas Parker just got completely naked."
That's true. It's
Yes.
very true.
Yeah, and so it's
Lucas
like
Parker
it's like the most man you can see.
showing off
naked.
that ginger dong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looked like a troll doll.
I wonder who else is going to do that this year. So then Friday, the other 3 events.
It looked like a
that we know-
snuffleupagus.
That's good. That's a good one. So then Friday, the other 3 events that we know are they're going to do an obstacle course.
Every time Lucas Parker opens his shorts, hi bird.
That's the snuffleupagus that you're
Yeah.
speaking
Yes,
of. That's
yes.
right.
Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus.
Whatever.
God damn it.
right?
The obstacle course is back. They're building a custom-built obstacle course in Madison for the athletes.
Yeah.
They're
You
gonna
saw
run it.
some of that shit, and it looks tasty. I like it.
Yeah.
They're gonna run it just like they did last time. So it's gonna be bracketed tournament,
Oh yeah.
3 rounds, and
That
then
was weird.
Fastest times.
Hopefully it'll be cooler than the shitty obstacle course they did back at that marine place.
Yeah, they had to change that around a bunch, is my understanding. Like they were gonna do a couple other things, but they were running out of time, so they had to change it around a bunch.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, we'll see what happens. And then 1 rep max snatch.
Yes.
Snatching is a weightlifting movement. It's pretty relatively new to
Interesting.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
It's
Hopefully
where
they'll
the-
have a little bit of time to work with the
Yeah,
bar
I think they'll need to
beforehand, so
practice.
get used to the
It
object.
uses this implement called a barbell, which
Don't
is
like
you know, sleeved, rotating, independent rotating
Those guys at Rogue always coming up with something.
cylinder of steel. And then finally the triple G chipper. I don't know
Oh,
why
I
it's
remember
called
this from
triple G.
Dave Castro's
Yeah.
Instagram, where he
Yeah.
it's like, here are 6 numbers. Somebody guess. Oh, you know what I did remember about this is that he put out like these numbers. He put out like 180, 60, 40, 20. And he's like, who can guess this? They win a free something. What is
Assault
it?
bike,
Assault
yeah.
bike. Yeah, yeah. And no one, of course, got it because that would be like guessing lottery numbers.
Right.
You know? And so he's like, well, here's a clue. And so then he added like the letter G next
Yeah,
to 3 of
G
them.
G G
And then
M,
WW.
W.
Or what does that
Yeah.
even mean?
G stands for gymnastics.
Oh.
M stands for monostructural,
Yeah.
and W stands for whatever.
Weightlifting, I guess, or weighted. Yeah.
No, whatever.
It stands
Yeah,
for weightlifting.
yeah, I get it. But still, and so like somebody went through and guessed all of them except for one.
Except for the last one.
Except for the last one.
Yeah.
And I remember Dave Castro then gave that guy the assault bike, but then added a salty little comment to it saying, like, he didn't actually earn the assault bike, but I'm going to give it to him.
I'm going to give it to him anyway.
I'm going to give it to him.
He didn't quote win.
He didn't
Yeah.
quote win.
That's right.
Although looking at this workout here, at first glance, I was like, whatever, some quick weightlifting shit at the end. It'll mainly be about the pistols. But no, thinking about it, one-armed, 100-pound dumbbell push presses at the end of all that,
Yeah.
there's going to be some fails on that, a lot of
Yeah.
fails.
Well, plus, and the other thing is that, you know, unlike with a barbell, holding it in the rack position with a dumbbell is harder, so it will definitely encourage. There will be a lot. It would be interesting to see if people can get, like, is it necessarily alternating, or can you
It doesn't say anything about
Yeah, yeah.
alternating, but it does specifically say push press.
push press?
So I'm not sure if
Rather
they
than the push jerk,
Yeah.
allow
perhaps.
jerks.
We'll
Maybe.
see.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to judge.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I think that is going to be the challenging part of that workout for sure.
Yeah.
But
Jay.
then again, I don't know. I'm
I really hope
not
they
a
don't.
games athlete.
I really hope they don't say like no jerking
Jay
allowed.
over here on Facebook.
Oh, he's like the only person watching now, or
Yeah, yeah. He's like, the chipper. They renamed it the Fakowski.
Oh yes, that'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
And looking at that,
yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to be fine on that workout.
Yeah.
Uh,
But is there, considering
fine.
100 pull-ups, is there going to be an advantage to the smaller athlete on
Sure.
that? Because normally I would say no, but at 100, that's a...
Well,
that's a-
here's what I'm anticipating happening for a very fun finish line on this is that we'll see people get to that dumbbell. We'll see whoever gets to that dumbbell first won't finish the workout first, unless it's Matt Frazier. It'll be... It'll be someone will get to that dumbbell first, but then will really struggle with it, and then someone a smidge stronger will come up right behind them and just rock their way straight through that
Yeah.
and win the workout. Brent Fakowski, I hope.
Yeah, Vellner will do really well on that. On the women's side, Val Vobril is going to do really well on this. I think. I mean, the 70-pound dumbbell for her might be a little heavy, but she can crush pretty much everything else there. Katrin will do just fine on those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are the 4 events that we know, and they look pretty cool so far, I guess. I mean, Saturday, the schedule has 4 scheduled events, I want to say. So that's a lot. And Sunday, I think, has another 3. So, you know, they have a pretty decent amount of scheduled events, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be how many scored events there are.
Yeah.
There's going to be, you know, possibly some events that have multiple scoring
It's
methods.
gonna be weird that it's in a different place. I keep picturing, you know, the place that it's been that I can't think of the name.
Carson.
Carson.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be interesting. It'll be that because I keep forgetting that it's gonna be like a whole different location.
Yeah, it's going to be like, it's almost as if it's in a different place.
It is, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mind is blown right
Yes.
now. That is.
Listen, I don't like to have to think about too many different places in the
Right.
world.
Of course,
Not for CrossFit or anything else.
just in general.
That's why I lived in Austin, Texas my entire life. I
Yeah.
don't like thinking that there are other places.
There aren't.
Exactly.
They're all made up.
I had just gotten used to the fact that Carson, California existed.
Now we have to scrub Carson from our mind.
Yes.
And then insert this weird place, Madison.
Yes. Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so that's happening next week. Who fucking knows what's going to happen? I'm
Correct.
sure we're going to release some more workouts between now and then. But fuck fitness. Let's move on. You
Yeah.
guys, Comic-Con was last weekend. And I feel like we were just texting each other, check out this fucking trailer. No,
Yes.
check out this fucking trailer. No, check out
Indeed.
this fucking trailer.
So, do we want to start with the clear winner?
the clear winner,
Yeah.
obviously being Thor.
Yeah.
The Thor trailer, if you haven't watched it,
Holy balls!
you need to watch it. It is fantastic. The music is great. It looks really cool. It's fucking hilarious. Hulk talks.
Hulk talks. My favorite part about this though is that there are so many frames of this that could just be a metal album cover.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just fucking
Like when
great.
all the
like,
Pegasi
the Pegasi
are,
are just all descending.
Yeah.
it is really
That
really
shit
cool
right there.
The idea
Cool.
of it, before we saw any of this footage, the idea of it being this like buddy road trip for Thor and Hulk was funny and interesting, but I had no real way how it was going to be applied.
Yeah.
And the way it seems to be applied is fucking awesome.
Yes. No, the thing I like that Hulk talks. That's good. That's fun. Yeah,
Well,
it's-
I mean, it's been a long time coming. Like to get to the point where Hulk actually does. 'Cause Hulk, in various iterations in the comics, does talk.
Yes, he does.
And in the Planet Hulk deal, which a lot of this is based off of, he talks a lot, like a whole lot, and has interpersonal relationships, and like, so yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk talking, good thing in general.
yes.
It looks like they also have a pretty good back and forth. Chris Hemsworth and
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
Yeah, they do well off of each other.
And the you can, and obviously Taika, whatever his fucking name is, Waititi was brought in to direct, and you can see it's good to see that a little bit more of that tone, which is not quite the Marvel tone, the company tone, was not necessarily on full display in the previous Thor films, and obviously looks very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy in a lot of ways, but just that one little beat between them where he's like, we had a fight yesterday. We had a fight? Did I win? No, I won. I defeated you easily. It's like, that doesn't seem to make sense. Well, it's true. That little beat, it was like, all right, all right, on board. That's all. That's all we needed. That's all we needed was that little thing.
Oh, I just thought Hulk saying, that Thor saying, you and me were similar to each other, and Hulk is like, yes, I am like fire, you are like water.
Well, we're both like fire.
But I am. What is he like?
Hulk
I
is
am
like raging fire.
You are smoldering.
Yeah. Thor is like smoldering fire.
And I like how as Hulk, his intelligence level is calibrated right to where it needs to be.
That's right.
Right to where it needs to be. He
That's
can't
right.
be too smart.
And
he
that
can't be
is
too dumb.
Drax.
Oh no, Hulk is Drax right now.
Hulk has been calibrated to Drax because you can just see David Bautista sitting there and having exactly that exchange with Star-Lord, like word for word, in fact, and like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing. Fine.
Also,
I'm on
apparently,
board.
Jeff Goldblum and Benicio del Toro's characters are brothers.
Supposed to be brothers, which I'm into.
That's cool. They're space brothers.
Yep, Space Brothers.
Never
Space
expected
Bros.
that to happen.
They're going to get a spin-off sometime soon. Space Bros.
That'd be
Yes.
fantastic.
3-camera sitcom.
And then, what else did we see in this trailer? Is it Kate Blanchett?
Yes,
that
Kate Blanchett plays the bad guy.
Hela?
Which I wonder, and maybe someone knows the difference, but if she's playing the goddess of death, is she the death that's going to be in Infinity War? 'Cause the
So she's not the. So Thanos is all about is in love with actually the personification of death.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Hela is the goddess of death or whatever.
True,
Yeah,
but
but
those
like
seem
the Marvel
awful.
Cinematic Universe
Yeah.
going to make a distinction.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and
it seems awful close, so I'm wondering.
yeah.
That's a really good point. That's a very, very small That's a very small differentiation to make
And
for
you
like
know,
the normal
especially,
person.
especially with that film's in production right now, and they just cast Kate Blanchett to be the bad guy in Thor 3. It makes a lot of sense that she would also play a substantial role in Infinity War, especially so, you know, as opposed to like killing her character off and then bringing in, here's a new female anthropomorphized death for this movie.
I didn't even
Well,
fucking
and what I
think
was
about
about to
that.
say is
That's
the
really
thing is,
smart.
I think it really matters on which direction they're going with that. If they are really actually going with the Thanos is all about literally wanting to sleep with death.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, like, so Infinity War, which is the thing that's coming up, for those who don't know, a lot of the action involves Thanos falling in love with death and therefore acquiring the Infinity Gauntlet and killing off half the universe as a result of that. Spoilers. And so, you know, that will be interesting. So, Kate Blanchett, all about it. I'll see Kate Blanchett in anything. I love me some
Well,
Kate
and that's the
Blanchett.
other thing I think is really great about this is
Everybody
we
gonna die.
get a nice, cool looking, cool acting villain in this movie.
Yes. Oh, and of course, the final shot of Hulk jumping into Surtur's face.
Oh yeah,
Is pretty
Uh-huh.
sweet. Giant fire demon, Hulk jumping into his face. So I'm all about it.
Yep. Man, imagine how much better Mad Max Fury Road would have been with Kate Blanchett instead of Charlize Theron. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Seriously. And she's Australian.
I know. Naturally.
Stranger Things 2.
Yes. Saw that trailer?
You know, we were all kind of, I would say, lukewarm on the idea of a second season of Stranger Things. I don't know how you guys feel about it now, but I am quite excited.
Here's the thing. I liked a lot about the original Stranger Things, but the thing I liked least about it was all the references to 80s pop culture. And so that this trailer leads off with, or not leads somewhere, is Thriller
The entire
scoring a lot of
the
it.
entire thing is Thriller.
Okay, is the whole way through,
Including the like where there would be.
It just tells me
voiceover to
that
describe it.
here's my theory of things behind the scenes is that the What's Her Head brothers, who created the original Stranger Things, really wanted to do way more 80s pop culture references in the first season, and then Netflix gave a little bit of pushback. It's like,
Well, they
hold
couldn't
on,
afford it.
guys. Let's just couldn't afford it. One and two is like, hold on, guys. Let's go a little light on this. And then with season 2, with huge breakout success, they're going to do whatever they want, and they're just leaning real hard into what was not my favorite part of season 1.
And the thing is, just to clarify, because I think you and I are in basic agreement, it's not to say I didn't like the things that were overtly referential, but it's like many people who who were critical of the first season of Stranger Things. So it's nothing but a bunch of, it's nothing but homage. It's nothing but reference. It's nothing. And I disagreed with that, saying like that it is a cool story, well told. It's a fun mystery, and then it does have a kind of annoying amount of direct pop culture references on the top, with like the kids having like Evil Dead posters and all sorts of stuff that just doesn't fucking make sense. Like no one had an Evil Dead poster in the mid '80s. Like that wasn't a thing.
Right.
And like the people reading Stephen King books and all sorts of shit. And then when I began to hear the casting announcements coming out for this, like they're casting Sean Astin and all these other people from that era, I was like, all right, well, that's something. And now watching this trailer, I'm not saying it's not going to be good, but it seems like it's just going full bore into what I found to be kind of an aggravating aspect of the first season, more so than teasing any kind of story. I mean, we're just seeing a lot of the same shit from the last season in terms of a cool or interesting story.
But instead of Christmas lights, it's drawings now.
Yes,
Whole
but they're
bunch of
banking
drawings.
all of the goodwill, not on any kind of continuation on the story or development. All the goodwill with regard to the trailer is entirely a pop culture reference fest, mainly this giant fucking Thriller playing over.
Or
the
you
top
know
of
what?
it.
Maybe we're just assholes, and maybe if they're listening to anyone in terms of how to shape the second season,
They're listening
not,
to us.
They're not listening to jerk off pretentious film critics wannabes like us. They're listening to the people. And what did the people respond to a lot in Stranger Things, or at least what did the people say they responded to? The pop culture references.
There you go.
And so maybe they're leaning in that direction, and it is wise that they do so.
There you go. Who am I to tell them what to do? But I really enjoyed the first season, and I'm excited to see the second season of the show.
I will certainly be watching the second season of Stranger Things.
Yes, and we also got the trailer for Ready Player One.
Oh my
boy,
God.
did
Speaking
we.
of which,
Speaking of a embarrassed.
So, tell me a little bit about Ready Player One, because
So-
I don't know anything about it.
I have never
and
read it.
I
I've
read the book.
seen people.
The book's kind of garbage.
Yeah, I've seen some like people like being, this is an actual page of the book, and I like read it, and I was like,
yeah.
this is fucking horseshit.
yeah.
So I forced myself through that book.
You loved every minute of it, Daniel.
Oh yeah, totally. No, but here's the thing. There
Inch
is
by inch.
But no, that book, it's poorly written, but if anyone's going to be able to pull a cool story out of it, it's Spielberg. I mean, yeah, it's really poorly written. It is. We were just talking about like cultural references and whatnot,
Yeah.
being like the things people respond to in Stranger Things. Literally, like this book is a list of cultural references. It is not like it. Half the time, it barely has a story. It is just like, and now I will drop every reference to every 80s thing that exists.
Yeah, and so just to bring everyone up to speed, so it's a book that was written, it takes place in the near future where there's a kid and he goes into a virtual reality world of some kind, but the virtual reality world is basically populated entirely by 80s pop culture things like the Ghostbusters and Freddy Krueger and all sorts of shit. And then, but it's one of those things where it would seem to be almost impossible to adapt into a feature film because of all of the licensing that would be necessary to get all of these characters into the thing. But now it is being adapted as not just a large-scale studio production, but being directed by Steven Spielberg, the man who is responsible for much of the pop culture, directly or indirectly, that is being referenced in the book, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
there's-
really weird.
There's a lot of like, it's like meta nausea that I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
off of this. And I also don't. This trailer. You know what the trailer makes me think of? The trailer makes me think of. Do you remember the trailer for John Carter of Mars?
Yes.
And it was like you could tell it was built by someone who gave a shit about that
yeah.
IP and was like, everyone else is gonna give a shit about this too once they
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
what it's about. And I'm like watching this, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
man.
like,
it
if-
seems like Tron did the whole motorcycle race thing better.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing in this trailer for me to latch onto aside from Rush.
Fantastic.
Being in the trailer.
Yep.
But there's nothing to latch onto because they basically introduce the thinnest version of the conceit possible, which is there is the future and there is the virtual reality internet or whatever. But then
So-
beyond that, it banks an entire last half of the trailer around a bunch of splashy CGI shots that I cannot imagine are actually from the movie in any way.
Yeah, they don't
They
seem that
look like
good.
they are cobbled together for the purposes of creating this trailer. That's why a majority of them are like in silhouette, like they look like shadows. And then there's a car chase thing that may or may not. I mean, the whole thing felt like basically a cheap CGI sequence thrown together for the purposes of having an actiony back half to a trailer for a film that's barely in production yet.
Oh, man.
And so. That's why I say the jury is out in the sense that I don't think we've really seen almost any of this movie.
But
Ooh.
the main thing really
It was
is
a very aggressive. But
Steven Spielberg is being handed a giant pile of money to make a giant action spectacular thing, sci-fi thing, and so whatever that is, I don't care how shitty the property is or how shitty the conceit is. If Steven Spielberg has been handed a giant pile of money to make a big old thing, it's worth seeing. You're not going to see it.
But,
that's
ha-
funny
but
you should
have
say
we
that.
seen? Has anyone actually watched the BFG yet?
I haven't.
I have not. Either.
It's funny you should say that because I feel like that's exactly what you said about Dunkirk. It's Christopher Nolan.
Well, no,
you have to go see
Christopher
it.
Nolan and Steven Spielberg are not. That's what we're talking about. They're not in the same class of person as an individual or as a filmmaker. There's just a massive difference.
Huh.
No, these things are not even close.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan's a guy who has hit and missed and occasionally done something that's kind of good halfway. That's Christopher Nolan, basically.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that Spielberg has been somewhat inconsistent, but the mere fact that this is a Spielberg film makes it worth. It makes it a puzzling thing that I'm very, very curious to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
If it were almost anyone else directing this film, I would have already written the thing off.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's I think the really interesting thing about it is that like Spielberg has the kind of clout and the ability to basically take the story, which the skeleton of it is kind of interesting. The skeleton of it is like in the future, everyone lives their whole lives basically in this VR world thing because out of resources, everything is just terrible, life sucks. Except when you're in the VR world, if you have enough like anything, like credits, whatever, you can be and do whatever you want, and so from there it becomes a big crazy like mystery plot.
What's the crystal key that is supposed to be?
So
And
the
a
whole
lot
plot.
of
So the plot of the
emphasis
book.
put on that.
So the plot of the book is that when the Steve Jobs character essentially like died, he said my entire estate, all of my money, and access to basically everything in whatever the fucking VR world is called,
Oasis.
the Oasis, will be given to whoever can solve this riddle. And so he sets up a riddle, like, using, and this is where all the 80s shit comes from or whatever, it's using his entire childhood and his whole life as the clues. And so the book is a succession of finding all the Easter eggs to get to the final part. The villains are a corporation attempting to also find all of these things and take control over the Oasis and essentially destroy it.
Yeah. Does
use it for
that not
profit,
seem a
etc.
little like hypocritical, considering it's like a giant corporation that is like taking all of these memories of our childhoods
Yeah, whatever.
and turning it into anyway?
Yeah.
I
And
don't think
but-
there's anything
and you
there.
just-
Let's not pull that string too
No,
hard.
no.
But like
Justice League?
Yeah.
Sure.
I haven't seen the new one,
it
but
was
I
a-
don't care.
There's a new trailer. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, really, if we're gonna be talking about like things like that, I do want to pull up the super badass Infinity War poster just to take a look
I
at it
haven't
real
seen
quick.
that at all.
Yeah,
look very cool,
like
very colorful.
We're at the point here where we have a poster where we got Thanos here in the center, Tony Stark, and then fucking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Spider-Man in that cool costume from the end of the movie.
Right.
Things from
spoiler
separate
alert.
things
Things from
together.
all coming together. We've hit that point where we're now going to start seeing these things.
A blonde Black Widow.
A blonde Black Widow.
A teenage Groot.
It's true. Teenage Groot.
Truth.
Truth.
Green.
What sound does it make when teenage Groot is masturbating in his room?
Twigs breaking.
Yes.
Gross. All right, and then so we'll go ahead and skip the fucking Justice League trailer. It
Yeah.
looks like more. Of
This
the same
poster
stuff.
is better
they
than
should
that
make a
entire
teenage.
trailer.
They should make a teenage Groot masturbation joke where Star Lord is like wandering past Groot's room and he stops for a second and he goes, "Anybody smell smoke?"
That's true. That's how you start a fire
right.
in the woods.
Yes.
Six together.
Yeah,
Rub two sticks together.
All right, let's
And that's the sound it makes.
let's talk about Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then we'll wrap this up.
Gurm of Turns.
So it's real fucking clear that George R.R. Martin isn't
Not
at all
writing anything.
involved in writing any.
I
of the
love
same
John.
lore.
Like we've been waiting for 8 seasons for the narrative circumstances that would finally bring Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen together. And it's like, I received one letter that tells me to go, but I'm not sure if I should. Oh, now I have 2 letters. I'm definitely gonna go. Well,
I love that Jon Snow is Keanu.
Surely
here.
something's gonna fuck that up. Next time on Game of Thrones, they walk into the same room. Okay, this just
Yeah.
doesn't really even feel like Game
My
of Thrones.
personal favorite part of that last episode was one. There was that jump cut from removing the grayscale, which, by the way,
Lots of fun jump cuts.
Oh, yeah.
Those cuts.
Yeah, the editing
By the
is
way,
solid.
Match cuts.
Is that what that is? Whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
but
give
it's,
a shit.
no, it's a match cuts. He's absolutely right. But like it did like there was the like right when what's her face is getting horn dogged by Dickless. You know, like
yeah. When is it Tersant?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Grey Worm.
Grey Worm.
Which Grey Worm, by the way, somehow, as a eunuch who's been a slave and a soldier's entire life, is
Yeah.
like fucking primed to lick
Yeah,
that thing.
That's right.
Dude.
So,
He
but
knows.
here's the thing. It's like so it starts the match cuts. It starts the match cuts there. Like the moment she like convulses like orgasmically, it cuts to like a book being
Yeah.
like a
Yep.
hand grabbing a book
Yep.
and pulls it out, and then you go from there and they do the grayscale scene and they do another match cut where like he sticks him with the gooey stuff and it cuts like a pie.
Yep.
But I kept thinking like it would be great if they had to edit it down for time, and they instead had done a different match cut. Is the moment she converses orgasmically, you just cut to the pus coming out of the wound.
It's disgusting. The grayscale thing is that really like the forbidden technique of healing grayscale?
Yeah,
just to
I felt
fucking
the same
cut
way.
it off of the
You know what?
person?
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin would have come up with a better idea.
100%.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is like even his the motivations of the characters seem so fucking convenient. What's just like what is it, Samwell, whatever his name is.
Yep.
It's just the fact that like he is currently on this mission to apparently find all this dragon glass. And get word to what's his face, and it's super important, and it's a mission to fucking save the world. And then Jorah, what's his name?
Jorah.
Yeah, Jorah shows up, and with this disease that apparently, if you try to treat it, it will probably kill you as the practitioner. And he's like, I'm gonna put a pause in my mission for a second and cure this guy. It's like, but couldn't you have incorporated Jorah into his quest to get the dragon glass in some way? So that in order to fulfill his mission with the dragon glass, like for instance, Jorah, who knows Daenerys, who now is at the castle that has the dragon glass, somehow is in possession of some secret knowledge or his unique capability to gain access or favor with Daenerys that would enable him to turn over the dragon glass to Jon Snow, and so they strike a deal, but it's only worth if Jorah can actually leave the place and survive. So Samwell has to risk his life to save Jorah so that he can then take him to Daenerys so that Daenerys can give Jon Snow the glass or anything like that. No. Instead, it's just like he walks into the room and he's like, I don't know, I just feel like curing you for some reason.
Right.
You know?
I feel like curing you because in episode 5, I'm going to have to talk about having cured you.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that was like floating around was it's like, he finds this mountain of dragon glass on Dragonstone, and the only other person who we've ever seen cured of grayscale was Shireen, who lived on Dragonstone.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a connection between the cure and Dragonstone. Nah, just gonna cut the shit off. Scrape it off.
What if the cure was you have to use dragon glass?
No, that's literally literally the
thing.
fucking thing that everyone's
Yeah.
oh, the things are all connecting. They're all connecting. Nah.
No.
One jam sesh could have figured out most of these things.
Yeah, it feels a bit. It's not that it's not saying I'm not saying I'm not enjoying it. I'm not saying that because it's fine. It just feels like it's just fucking fighting at a lower level. It's punching at a lower level than than Game of Thrones used to do.
It doesn't feel as dangerous anymore, right? Like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, especially 2 and 3.
You felt like the show was smarter
4.
than you and ballsier than you.
And it's like Daenerys was finding solutions to problems that you didn't even fucking see. They're like, I didn't even know that was a fucking option. She's doing that. That's amazing. Like that's fixing all of these things. And or like people are just being killed off, and you're like, holy shit, there are consequences to actions in this world.
And then in this world, and then all of a sudden in this episode, like out of nowhere, she just dresses down Varys for like 5 minutes, and which I guess is I don't know what, but came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And again, it's the kind of writing you see on other shows that are on television, which is it makes enough sense. It makes just enough sense. It doesn't not make sense, but it makes just enough sense. Whereas our first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, whatever, the show felt smarter than you. And so if it was leading you in a given direction to believe that something was happening, you then would realize that it was leading you in that direction, so it could directly subvert that expectation or turn your expectations around to shock or to surprise you or whatever the thing was. And now I don't feel like the show is ahead of me. I feel like I'm ahead of the show. And that's a shitty position to be in
until
now.
The show does Deus Ex Machina type stuff where, Euron somehow has like
the Eagles are coming.
He has like a night he has a night vision on his boat where he can specifically pick out the exact boat upon which these motherfuckers are on and sneak up on them in the middle of the night.
Well, even that, by the way, and talk about something else that I found annoying is like what's his name? Reek.
Theon.
Theon. It has been goddamn like 5 seasons, I feel like, of him just being like and just not fucking doing anything or being completely ineffective. And so finally they set up a circumstance where he could potentially do something and he doesn't, which, by the way, and then in the episode the after the episode, so he gets the opportunity to potentially save his sister and doesn't. So in the breakdown of the episode afterwards, like the Weiss and the other guy were like, so we realized that we would come to this circumstance where he could do something, and we realized that maybe he could, just do something, but then we decided no, not yet, or like he couldn't get over
That
it.
stays
hard
with
to get
you or
over
It's
whatever.
like,
stuff.
then why have that scene in there?
Yeah.
Then just when the battle starts, have him run away.
Yeah.
Why deliberately set up an opportunity? Because here's an
To
example.
subvert your expectations of redemption.
But exactly, no. But here's the point: is that here's a type of subversion that doesn't work, which is allow things to sit in stasis and not develop at all, then tease the fact that there's going to be a change of some kind, and then allow them to just return to the stasis that they were in before. Him jumping off the boat doesn't change anything. It just means that he's the same coward he was before. You just merely tease the opportunity for there to be some kind of development in his character and narrative development overall. And instead it says, no, instead of moving forward, we're going to sit still.
Well,
and
it's-
that is really one of the most frustrating things you can
It's
do.
the
in a
thing
movie.
that makes regular TV so annoying half the time is like we have now by the season finale we have created change, we have moved forward in a direction, and then episode 1 of the next season let's revert all that shit back to square one because we can't fuck with the formula.
Exactly. And it's just like, and that stepping backwards is just one of the it's a frustrating thing to do in any circumstance. But Jesus Christ, it's just
Yeah.
like, what's the point of having that scene?
And also the other
Yeah.
thing too is like just one moment earlier he's fucking up motherfuckers like with his sword on the boat.
Right.
It's not as if like it's like as Kyle was saying, it's like then if he's afraid of all the conflict, run away.
Yeah.
But instead it's like, look, I'm doing cool sword shit. I'm fighting people. I'm killing people. Oh, now I'm scared.
Yeah. Anyway, it is whatever. Fucking, that's fine.
The developments in this season will consist of people moving from one place to another place. Theon's development will be he'll be in a different geographical location by next episode.
Yeah.
Although one positive thing that I did enjoy with the episode was the Arya bit. One, with her fucking giant ass wolf that's back,
Oh, yeah.
but then 2, the bit where it's like it's like, oh wait, Jon, King in the North.
Yeah.
Oh, I am gonna go there.
like, I should go home.
I should go.
Yeah.
It's like I should go back home.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a cool thing.
Well,
I'm trying to talk nice here.
I mean, there's a couple. The other thing that I found was positive was the fact that in previous season, I feel like Daenerys would have said something like, send him a crow or a raven, and tell him to come down here and bend the knee.
And it
it
would
would
have
have been
taken
like
8 episodes.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this was like literally the next scene. He's like, I got this fucking letter.
Yeah.
What should I do about this? So they're really trying to speed up the
Well,
process
like
here.
they
which
only
I
have
respect.
I mean, it's like 7 episodes this season and then 6 the next. Yeah. Things are gonna speed up real fast.
Cool. Can't wait. Anyway, I think that's about it for us today.
Yep.
Social medias.
I am at Mr. Kyle Bogart on the best of all the Instagram accounts. On the internet.
I strongly disagree.
No.
I'm at Cliff Bogart at opposite all those things.
I am at a supersonic man on all the things, and I host Hot Tag, available on iTunes.
And I'm at Armin Hoists. Thanks so much, folks, for listening, and we will catch you later. Peace.
Later.